Hey everybody, Justin Thompson, physical therapist, and I am here to show you guys today the difference between a hip hinge and a Jefferson curl. So two ways to work on bending forward, but there's different reasons for why you would work on each. So let's take a look at why you would do each one. Move with Freedom PT is a name owned and controlled by Thompson Physical Therapy, PLLC. Not all exercise or health information is suitable for everyone. The information provided is for educational and informational purposes only. No information is to be taken as medical or other health advice pertaining to any individual's specific health or medical condition. The information should not replace the professional diagnosis and treatment needed from a qualified healthcare provider. Alright guys, so let's take a look here at the difference between a hip hinge and a Jefferson curl. So a hip hinge is a traditional deadlifting motion. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two 10-pound weights, okay? Now, I can lift heavier, I'm sure that you can too, but I'm just going to do this for demonstration because when we move into the Jefferson curl, you need lighter weight, okay? And I'll tell you why here in a minute. But first, let's take a look at the hip hinge. So whenever you do a hip hinge, we're talking about keeping your spine in a neutral position, so finding that position of neutral in the spine where you're not in an excessive lordosis or increased curve, or you're not super rounded in this direction too. So a nice neutral spine here. And then in a hip hinge, what you do is you take your backside, your butt, back towards this wall back here, and the weights come down in front of you here. Okay, what you're going to feel is tension in your hamstrings as you get into this position, and then you're going to come right back up. This is kind of like a traditional deadlift or Romanian deadlift, straight leg deadlift, those kind of exercises where you are keeping a nice straight spine, nice neutral spine as you move through that motion. Now, it's really important to be able to do that. It's really important to be able to maintain a neutral spine, especially if you're lifting something very, very heavy, okay? So if you're lifting something really, really heavy and you go to bend over like this, rounding through your spine, and you go to pick it up, the spine was not meant necessarily for a ton of weight or a ton of flexion, bending under a lot of load, okay? So the spine was designed to bend, but not under that much load, okay? So what do you need to do then to kind of improve the resilience of your spine? Because guess what? There isn't always the opportunity to do a perfect hip hinge. So think about whenever you're reaching into a cabinet below a counter. More often than not, we're not going to hinge at the hips. Is that good for us if we have a back problem and we need to protect the spine? Yeah, you should learn how to do this. You should be able to hinge at the hips, reach down, open up a cabinet down below the counter. Okay? However, in normal everyday life, that's typically not what we do. Usually, we walk up to the cabinet, we bend over like this, we round through the spine, we open the cabinet door, and we end up being fine. Why are we fine? Because we have joints in the spine that were meant to bend in that direction. Okay? So a lot of people think, you have to keep a neutral spine all the time. And that's not true. And actually, the Jefferson curl helps to strengthen the back and the spine and the muscles surrounding the spine whenever you are bending through your spine. Okay? So the Jefferson curl looks like this. So remember first, the hip hinge was here, your butt goes back, and your spine stays in a neutral position here, and then you come back up. The Jefferson curl is different. Now, I'm using two 10-pound weights. That's a total of 20 pounds. And I want to be very clear here, when I start to introduce this exercise to people that have back problems, I always start with no weight whatsoever. Okay? So I want to be very, very clear about that. I've built up the tolerance and the ability to do two 10-pound weights on the Jefferson curl. Alright? I can actually do even more than that, but I'm just showing for demonstration purposes. Okay? And for you, if you're just starting and you don't ever do this exercise, it's got to be starting out with zero weight. Okay? But what a Jefferson curl looks like is you are literally going to round through every segment of your spine, starting from the head, going all the way down through your tailbone. Okay, so it starts here. You're going to tuck your chin down towards your chest, round through the thoracic spine or your mid-back, and then you're bringing you're rounding all the way down, all the way through the lower back as well. These weights are going straight down towards my feet, and I'm going all the way down, keeping my legs straight. Okay? And then when you come back up, you round through the lower back again. And then as you come up, you'll start to straighten out that lower back, straighten out the upper back, and then straighten out the neck. That's what a Jefferson curl looks like. So if you do it again, you come down with your chin, mid-back, and then your lower back. And then you keep going down until you reach the end of your hamstring flexibility. Now, if you've got a lot more flexibility, it may be good for you to stand up on a box so that your hands can drop down further than your feet. But when you're first starting out, you only want to go through a motion that you can control with a weight that you can control. That's why I always start this with 0 weight for everybody. Okay? So, again, why do we do a Jefferson curl though? Basically what I'm trying to accomplish with this is I'm trying to get somebody that may have injured themselves bending over in this way, and I'm trying to get them to a point where they can comfortably start to bend in that direction again, and improve the tissue tolerance. So the discs in the spine may have become weak, we need to strengthen those. The ligaments in the spine may have become really tight, we need to kind of lengthen those and strengthen them as well. Also, the smaller spinal stabilizer muscles, such as the multifidi and the smaller spinal erector muscles, those need to be strengthened as well if you are going to be able to perform this motion. Okay? Now, the reason I have people do this is because we all go through life and we all end up having to bend over at some point. Okay? We cannot maintain perfect neutral spine all the time. Sometimes we get into awkward positions, our spine has to bend a little bit in order to get to something, and that should be okay for us to do if we have the strength and the mobility and the capacity to actually achieve that. The Jefferson curl is a great way to start to do that. So this is a really great exercise for strengthening the lower back. Obviously, the hip hinge is a really good one as well for strengthening with heavier loads. So if you need to lift something heavy, make sure that it is in a position where you can keep a neutral spine, right? Now, if it's not in a position where you can do that, then you really need to ask for help. All right. So the difference between the hip hinge and the Jefferson curl, two very different exercises, two very different ways to get your hands down by your feet or to go and pick something up. But just know that each of them should be done slightly differently. The Jefferson curl, much lighter weight. The regular hip hinge or deadlift can be done with much heavier weight. So I hope that you guys like that one, and I hope that you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel, and as always, move with freedom.